from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Miss anything? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Get today's breaking news on the Vince Colonnese Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on WMAL.
All right, Patrice Onwuka, we now quickly turn to Benjamin Weingarten. He's a senior contributor at The Federalist. In his book, American Ingrate, Ilhan Omar and the Progressive Islamist Takeover of the Democratic Party. And boy, we saw that play out this weekend, not just with Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, AOS. By the way, AOS, all those people, the squad, they were all endorsed by the Democrat Socialists of America, who were absolutely pro-terrorist as well, Ben. This is a scary thing.
Well, and let's not forget, even scarier, and this was what my book foretold, is that Tony Blinken himself was aping the exact same rhetoric in this tweet put out, illustrating his conversation with a Turkey diplomatic official calling for a ceasefire. Just think about what that means for a second. Israelis get their throats cut, women raped, people taken hostage across the country. There are Americans among the casualties and reportedly taken hostage as well. And the response from this administration's top diplomat is, Israel, respond by standing down. Put down your arms. That says it all. The squad is in this administration.
Well, and you know what, Ben, I think it's the left right now is hijacked by so many voices, not just Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. I'm thinking about at the Washington Post, their foreign desk editor, retweeting all these tweets about this being decolonization and this idea that decolonization means murder. It's not like the sit-ins of the civil rights era where it was peaceful. Talk to us about, from a cultural perspective, how this insidious anti-Zionist, anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli sentiment has woven together groups that are about, the Black Liberation Movement and all of these different progressive groups together to rally behind eliminating Israel. Talk to us about the cultural aspect of this.
Well, I think at root, fundamentally, there is a shared desire on the left and the Islamists to see Judeo-Christian Western civilization brought to its knees. Both sides look at the West and say it's corrupted, it's decadent, it is, racist, imperialist, et cetera. And that's why you see the same rhetoric from the old socialists that you see from the Islamists as well. So they have a common enemy, and that enemy is the West, in effect. When you talk about rewriting our history with the 1619 Project to frame America as an evil entity, it plays right into the same kind of propaganda and rhetoric as the Islamists. So they have a shared common enemy, and that is patriotic conservative Americans. And that's how you have a time today where you have an administration that in effect is the chief aider, abettor, and enabler of the world's leading state sponsor of jihad, Iran, which is behind these attacks ultimately, while at the same time, what is our FBI focused on? It's focused on classifying potentially tens of millions of Americans as actual or would-be domestic terrorists. I think that says it all. That split screen. Americans are the terrorists. Actual terrorists get underwritten by this administration.
Yeah, and they were chanting terrorist slogans in front of the White House while they flew the Palestinian flag, which I'm sorry is now a banner representing terrorists. It might as well be the black ISIS flag at this point. And in Times Square, with loudspeakers. And I mean, did they pull a permit for this thing? And how quickly did they do that at Times Square? Basically celebrating and cheering on the slaughter of babies and the rapes of women. Ben, I sometimes am left speechless by seeing evil right before my eyes, and they're right here in this country.
And these are the people who are for peace and tolerance and diversity, et cetera. It's the images are stark, not at all surprising. Even more disturbing, I think, and this is especially in light of the reports about effectively an Iranian spy ring that was operating in this administration, led by the State Department envoy to Iran, Rob Malley, and by the way, the chief of staff also to the counterterrorism office in the Pentagon, who appears to have been part of that ring. There have been Hezbollah cells that have operated in this country before. How many other cells are operating in this country with a completely open border that has followed years of mass immigration, including from Islamic majority countries? How many fighting age men have come to America from those countries that have gone completely unvetted over the last 2 decades?
Ben Weingarten's Federalist. Great point there. That story about we covered it here. Basically operatives for the Tehran regime embedded in work. In fact, one of them I think is still working at the Pentagon right now. Department of Defense stood by her. They absolutely funded by the foreign ministry out of Iran. That story got disappeared. The media cares more about Trump's trial over business dealings in New York. That's what captures everyone's imagination. We'll continue reading your work at the Federalist. That's for sure. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
You mentioned the Washington Post there, Patrice. Here was the headline yesterday at the Washington Post. Mm-hmm. Israel formally declares war against Hamas as hundreds killed on both sides. Good Lord.
On both sides.
Yeah. And
that's the
Israel
issue.
Declares war because Israel is the aggressor here. Jeff Bezos should just be is he proud of that? Is he?
Does he care? Does he know, or does he care?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's 7